thank you for everyone who's taken some time out of your day to be a part of this. We're excited to be doing this. If you're just getting in and you're wondering what in the world is going on, what are we doing? We are going to be talking a little bit about Second Chance Month as it comes to an end. But the reality is Second Chance Month may be ending, but the fight for second chances all across the board is really just beginning. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's also Apprenticeship Day, so we're going to talk about that. We are going to hear some amazing insight from people who are boots on the ground in this field. So we're going to be doing that in just a moment. We're going to give just a minute or two more, and then we'll get started. We also received some questions from people when you registered. But if you have another question, feel free to put it in the chat. We will be answering some of those at the end. Again, thank you for being a part of today. We're not going to take up too much of your time because it's valuable. We understand that. But as we get ready to get started, I do want to say I was watching the movie Planet of the Apes not too long ago, and there's a scene where Caesar, who's leading the Planet of the Apes, and he says, "Apes together strong." And I think it's so true in this space. It's important when people can come together because we are, in fact, stronger together. So thank you, everyone who's attending this. Thank you to Ben and Amy and Chris from Nucleos and CareerSafe who are making today possible as we learn more together about education and credentials within the reentry space. All right. Well, let's get started. I'll start off. We're going to do a few little introductions. Nucleos and CareerSafe asked me to be a part of this event. My name is Noah Asher. I'm the host of the podcast Inside Out, which is a podcast for people inside prison, as well as for their loved ones on the outside. We actually stream on over 1 million tablets inside prisons and jails across the nation. And part of that is due to organizations and companies like Nucleos, who has provided a platform for us to share this podcast. We also have been allowed to share my book on the tablets, which is called Chaos: Overcoming the Overwhelming. And man, we released it last February, and we've had 1.4 million people reach with the book. So it's been amazing. A year and a half or so since we've been doing all of this. So that is me. I see Nikki in the comments. Nikki Louder from South Carolina. She's been phenomenal at helping getting my book and the podcast out there as well. So thank you to the Department of Corrections in South Carolina. All right, we're going to shoot it over to Amy from CareerSafe.
Well, hello, and thank you very much for letting me be a part of this. I am Amy Gallagher. I am the partnership manager for CareerSafe. I have been working with CareerSafe for 8 years in different capacities, but the partnership position for the last 3. And I'm a former teacher. I taught for 25 years in the high school setting in Texas for 25 years, and then ended up at CareerSafe. So very happy to be here. So thrilled to be in a partnership with Nucleos and getting to be a part of this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Ben, we'll shoot it over to you.
Thanks, Noah. My name is Ben Jones. I'm an account executive with CareerSafe for corrections agencies exclusively. Prior to coming to CareerSafe last year in March, I was the education director for the Wisconsin Department of Corrections for 6 years, where we oversaw some college, CTE, adult basic education programs, and did a lot of different things. And came to CareerSafe because I recognized the opportunity to provide stackable credentials to celebrate second chances. And it's also Apprenticeship Day. So we did apprenticeship programs in Wisconsin, and the opportunities to excel and advance people's options to have industry recognized evidence-based credentials is a really important factor in the reentry process. So I'm excited to be with CareerSafe, helping to provide that wherever it makes sense for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Ben. And then lastly, we got Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. My name is Christopher Arrow. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Nucleos. It is a pleasure to be on this podcast and webinar today. And basically, what Nucleos does is we bring the outside to the inside. And so we're able to bring the internet fully inside the facilities and be able to correctly scrub out the actual code on the pages of different various websites, bring in partners like CareerSafe and actually make it so we can actually bring obtainable certifications to the inside and make it so that we can actually really create those pathways when these individuals are able to go home and make sure that they actually can be employable. And so I'm happy to be here today, and thank you so much, everyone.
That's great. And I do want to tell the listeners who are just joining now, this is not going to be some sort of sales pitch for CareerSafe or Nucleos. It's just people who are in this field who are passionate about it. We're talking about Second Chance Month as it comes to an end, as well as today is Apprenticeship Day. And speaking of, well, actually, before that, I do want to say again, I can't stress it enough. Second Chance Month is ending, but the fight for second chances never does end. We are still fighting tomorrow, the next day, a year from now, however long it takes for people to get what they need when it comes to education, as well as workforce development, as well as the reentry tools they need. But today is not just the end of Second Chance Month as a whole on April 30th. It's also Apprenticeship Day. And could you tell us a little bit about what is Apprenticeship Day? How does that look? And what's the importance for, I see a lot of people jumping in are with different departments of corrections. So how important is apprenticeship?
Yeah, thanks, Noah. So there's a buzzword out in education. It is integrated education and training, where's this idea where it's the juxtaposition between what you learn in a classroom applies to work-based learning. And so that's an academic iteration of this. It's been around in the form called apprenticeship for many, many, many years. Apprenticeship is about work, is about learning on the job. And it's a different path to different careers. It's most frequently used in the skilled trades, manufacturing sectors as a way to learn while you're working and learning from masters. And Amy has some experience with the folks, both at OSHA and other places that do apprenticeship. So this day is to celebrate people who are involved in apprenticeship contracts, and there's ways to do that through the corrections agencies. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, Amy, on just describing what is apprenticeship.
Yeah, thank you. So to me, an apprenticeship allows people to actually get paid while they're getting trained. So it's that hands-on training, as well as there's classroom work that goes along with it. And I think what works great is when you're looking at incarcerated individuals that are getting that pre-apprenticeship work first, and then hopefully having those organizations that connect with them and are able to then take them out into the world, give them those apprenticeship opportunities to provide them that training that they need. And also, I think it allows them to build confidence and those skills that are necessary for them to be able to be successful when they enter the reentry of the world.
That's great. And when I think about the fact that it's a lot of times I am just as impacted. I should have said that earlier when I did my introduction, but I understand that a lot of times people get out of the system and they feel like they're 3 steps behind. And providing these sorts of resources, allowing them to feel like, okay, I'm not 3 steps behind. Maybe I'm only 1 step, or maybe I'm in the same even level playing field as everyone else, which is what we really all want, right? But when it comes to that, Amy, there is credentials that you see have been important and vital for people to get that can really set their resume up for success. How does that look?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. There's several different types of certifications, I believe, that are out there. Specifically, our OSHA 10-hour course and our OSHA 30-hour course for trades specific are necessary. The OSHA 10 is the fundamental need for safety in the United States. So to get that before you get out and have that, employers see that as an industry recognized credential. ServSafe is another one. NCCER has certifications that are also provided that are very, very important and industry recognized. And I think that's the key word there, is that industry recognized credential. The other one that I think is very important, and I know we'll hit on it probably later, Noah, are soft skills. I
Yeah,
think, the more that we can get people ready to be able to communicate and communicate effectively so that they can be coached effectively is also very important.
that's great. I was
Can
actually
I
telling
tease
you
out?
all, I was
Go ahead.
telling you all three the other day that I started working in a hotel when I got out of prison. And I moved from being the front desk associate. 3 weeks later, they hired me to GM, which is just wild. I knew nothing. But what was crazy is I remember telling my leadership team that sometimes when the hot tub goes down, you have to shift their focus, right? You have to say, "Oh man, we're so sorry that the hot tub went down, but our heated pool is lovely this time of year." You shift their focus, and I think that this is a great way to shift people's focus when it comes to resume building, to be able to say, where were you during this time to this time? And it's like, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but have you seen my OSHA 10 credits? Like it's a way to focus
Exactly.
them and shift their focus to the positive things that you have going on is very important. Ben, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to. Industry-based credentials is a buzzword, and I think that it deserves to be talked a little bit about. It is the idea that what does it mean to be industry-based, right? So I think people have sort of common understanding of what the word serve safe is. It is the restaurant industry's based training to serve food products safely. So as we articulate that to OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, I think it's important to understand OSHA is a regulatory agency and they push out safety training for all sorts of people all the time. And companies pick up those training and call it OSHA training and do whatever. OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 are authorized training by the OSHA regulatory agency, and they only say this these groups and this is the way that you will accomplish this training. So that's an important first step. Here's the second part that's super important. When I was sitting in the chair as education director, I had people come to me all the time and say, this is the greatest industry-based training ever in the history of the universe. I'm
Mm,
like, great. Tell me the industry who articulated that it is that. And it's Bob's Pretty Good Hamburger Joint down the road. And nobody knows. Is that an industry-based credential? I suppose it is, right? Bob's Pretty Good Hamburger Joint is an industry. Is that a widely recognized industry-based credential? Number one. Number two, especially in technical areas like welding and construction trades and all of these different things, I did not have the expertise or knowledge to know if that was good training, if it actually trained people for those fields and to do all those things. So when people throw out terms like industry-based credentials, it's important to do your homework, right? So to know what that actually means, because I can get an endorsement from Bob's Pretty Good Hamburger Joint and call it industry based, but it might be Bob's is the only one that recognizes.
yeah, that's good. Two things. Ben, first, you just made me really hungry. It is lunchtime where I'm at on the East Coast. So thanks for that. But secondly, even as you're talking, I'm loving this conversation already because all month long, I've been a part of different events and different things around Second Chance Month. And a lot of times we talk about like, here's the problem, here's this, here's all these different problems people have to have their second chance moment. And so far, what I'm seeing in this conversation is you're just saying, yeah, we know there's a problem. Here's some solutions, get your credentials, get these things to focus you and bring you forward. Now, CareerSafe and Nucleos met like with Chris because you had a service that you could provide and you got with Chris with Nucleos and you were like, Nucleos, we can make it happen. We can send it into different facilities. Something that I've heard all month long is that, oh, all of these different programs, all of these different things that we're trying to bring in, they're not secured. And so we don't need them. Nucleos does it a little different. Chris, for the people in corrections right now listening to this, is it possible to provide services that like CareerSafe offers in a secured way?
Absolutely. Absolutely is possible. We do it day to day with Nucleos here.
And why, how? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know all of the lingo. So you just tell me, how does it work?
Well, now you just trying to get all the secrets out of me.
That
No,
I'm
so
taking notes. So what's up?
absolutely, yeah. So the how, right? So in corrections, when you're working with corrections, obviously any social medias, anything's of the sort like that, the World Wide Web, it's a scary thing. We don't want to bring these things into corrections because when you do, there's communications that can take place, things can actually happen, right? And that's the safety of officers. That's also the safety of the actual incarcerated as well. And so with our platform, we do it a little bit differently. I'm sure a lot of people in this actual webinar right now understand whitelisting and blacklisting on a network, right? And with the IT teams, and there may be some IT here in this room, when an educator comes up and says, hey, can you whitelist this on the network? That turns into a nightmare for the IT teams and they get super burdened down. And so with the Nucleos platform, basically we're able to bring in the whitelisting and blacklisting, and not just that, we're able to actually correctly scrub the material on the page. And what I mean by correctly scrubbing is things that we don't want to see, like a footer of a website that has all the social media links. Our system can actually go through, dynamically remove the code blocks that contain those things, like the footer containing all of these different social media links that lead outside these platforms, where a lot of these amazing platforms like CareerSafe and these OSHA certifications, or say Coursera even, all of these different certifications that have these websites that were meant for the outside, we can now correctly scrub these websites and bring these amazing certifications to the inside, making it so we can now out certify these felonies and convictions that these individuals have.
I love it.
Chris,
You know, I on the podcast, shout out to the podcast, shameless plug, just a little bit of a shameless plug. But one thing that I say often on there is that life doesn't start when your sentence ends, life is now. And so people sitting behind bars, they don't have to start their credentials, they don't have to start their education, they don't have to start building their resume when they get out. No, in fact, that's kind of too late. They need to start now. And so you're providing education as well as workforce development and reentry tools now, like behind bars while they're sitting there, right?
Yes, that is
That's
correct. Yeah,
amazing.
we provide live access to these different industry certificates, and not just that. We offer, I mean, different about 120 different applications currently, and that number grows every 2 weeks. We have 2 week sprint cycles, and that number is continually always growing because not everyone has the same trajectory, not everyone has the same learning path, and we're
Yeah,
able to bring in all the different types of training that there are across the entire web.
that's great. And Ben, you worked with corrections, so you understand the need and the safety on tablets and other sites. So, what are your thoughts when it comes from a correctional point of view? How important is it to obviously be safe, but still find ways to bring solid educational material inside?
there's about 5 layers to that question, right? The first is every single jurisdiction, states, jails, whatever, have a different security attitude. And it's largely based on their experience, right? If you have an experience with a person who does something, re-victimizes somebody, does something, it becomes far greater security tightness. So that's the first thing, is understanding what is your security tolerance. And then, to be candid, some states had statutory language up until basically this year that you literally could not allow any person on an online platform, period, end of story. If it was in the cloud, you couldn't go there. Those barriers are starting to be removed, and COVID helped remove some of that stuff, as remote visitation and all the things that happened around COVID. The second thing is really understanding staffing patterns, right? And the idea that officer staff is massive shortages throughout the country, educator staff's massive shortages throughout the country, other program staff, it's all shortage based. And the challenge there is not all training that's done online is the best, right? Like, I would never want to put somebody into a role of underwater welding who hasn't held a welding stick before, right? That's scary to me, right? Like, basically, there are things that you have to do and get your hands dirty when you do it. But for the items um that are comparable to an online platform, it does a couple of things. It doesn't replace staff. It actually helps staff focus on the main work that they're working on. So if you're teaching welding, you're teaching construction trades, you teach those skills. Here's the safety skills that we can support you with. And you can do all sorts of really cool things. I'm not also not saying anything against virtual training, because I think virtual training has a place as well. When we talk about the cost of doing, I've seen augmented welders, the cost of all the materials and supplies and all the things, but having that person, that teacher there is important as well. So if you talk about security standpoint, staffing shortages, and then you look at the rest of the story as it relates to security, what Chris mentioned is really important, which is they have basically a full-fledged managed system, meaning the local IT staff give access and hand away the keys, and they trust Chris and the team at Nucleos or whomever to manage everything for them, to make it safe, to make sure it's locked down. Other states and other jurisdictions prefer to kind of control their own thing. And it's understandable when you get into security aspects, who are you going to trust to control things? And so then they manage those systems, and all sorts of vendors and companies need to figure out, well, how do you make this secure without a thing like Nucleos, without this? And how do you make it easy for those IT staff to manage that stuff? And so it's kind of interesting, because you're paying for a service, for a managed service, or you're paying for IT staff to manage everything. One way or the other, the costs are there for folks. So it's a really big picture to try to unwrap what that actually means.
And you actually used a word over, you mentioned it a few times, like the word online, like online learning. And someone in the comments actually just said, are these courses delivered through existing tablet systems? Or do they require a dedicated computer for access? And I do want to say, Chris, am I right or wrong on this? That some of the providers, they're not technically online. It's like a server. Is that correct? It's like download.
Yes, that's true. Some of the providers do offer a server on site, and the data is pulled from that server onto the devices. So in a way, it's not technically online, that's offline. Some of the other competitors in the industry, yes, they are online, but to what extent do they go online? And how do you procure your certifications at the end? How do you actually get access to that? So kind of what we do differently is, since we're bringing in the full internet and we're locking things down, page by page, source by source, code by code, we're able to actually generate emails for these individuals that they'll never have access to, that they cannot see. However, that makes it so we can actually procure and actually get these different certifications that they've earned, and we can actually take those and now forward those to them and get it to their outside version of our platform, where the individuals can actually access and utilize that to push forward in their different prospective industries.
I love that. I was talking to someone in the state of Colorado yesterday from Colorado University, and she was talking about how she is so passionate about getting her master's programs. She's a professor, get her master's programs into these prisons. But she said the biggest hangup is they need internet access. They have to be able to do the coursework online, do the seminars and stuff that come in. So you have to have that, and you guys provide a way. And so I like hearing that there is a solution. There is an opportunity to say you can still provide that in a lockdown way. Now,
absolutely. I did want to add one thing there, though, is yes, we can provide the online access and all of that stuff. Now, what about for the admin side of this whole entire picture, right? The admins involved in the teachers, the educators. What does that look like? What does that look like when they now have to go and get all of these different things that individuals have actually finished and done across the board for every single facility, every user that they've ever been on their systems? I'm hearing Excel spreadsheets. That's what I hear across the board. We're taking copy and pasting. This goes to the Excel spreadsheet. I hate Excel spreadsheets personally. I think they're faulty, and it takes a long time, and they're clunky. Our system can actually pull all of the reports across every single user, across every single application, from CareerSafe to ABE courses, all the way to what page they were on, how many minutes were on that page, and you can generate the report within seconds and take that entire report. And now you have a full audit of every single course, every single thing anyone's ever done in the system, and send that off to where it needs to go. And including, I know a lot of educators and individuals in this webinar right now are also having the issues of, I have to create a username and password for every single one of these users. You want to give them a CareerSafe and OSHA 10 certification course, and they want to jump into that. Well, we got to create a user account for them. And now take that and multiply that by how many tons of thousands of people are coming through the facilities. It's a huge burden. It's a time suck. Our system generates all of that instantly. We understand the burdens on the side of deployment for the users to access information, but we also understand that there's a burden on the other side. Just even onboarding to rostering to pulling the reports back. It's a burden for everyone. We like to automate everything for everyone in between and then turn over and say, hey, custody team, this is what we've done for your educators, your learners, and here's what we did for you guys too. It's a safe, secure, lockdown environment.
I love it.
Just so you know, the CareerSafe admin portal, if you don't use Nucleos, guess what you have to use to bulk upload? An Excel spreadsheet. I think we're safe because I don't think Microsoft's on the call, but to your point, I do think, yeah, the reporting tools and trying to make it easier to use for users on reports and enrolling and rostering, like those are workload issues because you have to do it somewhere. And I will say that I've watched people do those things outside of the Nucleus system and inside of the Nucleus system, and it's pretty seamless for end users and things. So that's great.
Chris was speaking
Absolutely.
my language when he said basically work smart, not hard. That's my mantra.
Absolutely.
There you go. Now, Amy.
Time is a very valuable thing that we cannot replace, and you can't buy time. So
yeah. And speaking of time and also buying even hours for like staffing, Amy, there's online opportunities here is what we're talking about. How is there a difference between online learning versus in-person learning that you're seeing?
Well, yes. Here's what's interesting, and I was kind of thinking through this as this was all the conversation that was going on. But learners learn differently. We have different styles of learning, different things that hit us, and so I think there's some valuable techniques here. First, if you're online, especially with our OSHA 10 courses, they're read to you, or you can turn that system off. And so if you're needing something read or you like to hear the audible, you're an audible learner, you need to hear it, right? And oftentimes people need to also have the learning of touch. And so this is the difference to me between an online and in-person training. Online is going to allow it to be told to them, shared with them. They can read it, they can see it. Some of our examples will have them actually moving things around and working through performance-based type training, but then they can carry it into the in-person training and be practicing it as well. And I think there's some value in both of those. I think it's needed. It's 10 hours of training. That's what the OSHA 10 stands for. OSHA 30 stands for 30 hours of training. So to just get it and go may not be enough, but we have study guides that are available. We have PowerPoints and lesson plans that are available for instructors. And so it can become tangible where people are able to touch it as well as see it.
Wow. Ben, you're holding your hand. Is this
Yeah.
your classroom setting? Go ahead.
I get this question a lot, Noah, with the soft skills courses that we teach, things like teamwork, time management, that kind of stuff. Is like, well, we already teach that stuff. We have a curriculum, we all have these things. And I find it super interesting because I think that this is true. This is the idea that if I teach you teamwork and time management in one way, and then I interject it into a specific lesson another way, and I do it another way, and then you add this online course, does anybody know which one of those is going to click and actually make a difference? And I don't know the answer to that question because different people learn differently, and and here's the story. My daughter was trying to learn how to multiply in kindergarten or whatever grade they do that now. It's ridiculous. What the skills I learned in 8th grade, they're only in 1st grade now. But anyway, I'm going through and doing the Apple models and examples and all this stuff, and I don't know, I must have had 3 examples. So we go over to Khan Academy and I pull up a simple multiplication video in 2 minutes. Got it. I took 35 minutes trying to explain 3 different representations on how to multiply simple multiplication. Some dude on Khan Academy got it done in 2 minutes and it just clicked. And I don't know why, right? It doesn't make them a better teacher or anything like that. It just means that you never know when it's going to click or how it's going to click and that kind of stuff.
Well, then
Right.
it kind of goes back to even like those that have children, you know, when you have children and you tell them and you tell them and you tell them, you tell them again, and then somebody else tells them, and then they get it. And you're like, "Well, I've told you 15 times. Why didn't you get it with me?" So oftentimes I think it is, you know, you provide it in all different types of ways so that people do, the light bulb comes on and you don't know
Yeah.
when that's going to happen. That's the
Yeah.
There
fun of
was a
teaching.
And
there
do you
was a
remember?
question here about correctional industry and staff modeling, and I think this is true in adult classrooms, CTE classrooms, all of those things. Like some of this, I mean, it's not realistic necessarily to do OSHA 10 for a classroom as a former educator. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you look at like correctional industry, for instance, they have supervisors who supervise incarcerated workers. And those supervisors, are they maintaining OSHA standards, OSHA safety standards? Do they know what those things are? Are they certified? Are they modeling? Are they doing all those things? Same thing is true in some of those support skills that we talked about, the soft skills, is like how do teachers model time management? How do teachers model teamwork? Like it's the modeling, it's the connecting that learning to what people do.
Yeah.
And I think another thing also, I mean, to think about, you know, when you're as a teacher, because I've taught for many years, you're pushing them, right? I mean, it's a constant push. It's a push. It's a push. You've got to keep people on schedule, on schedule, on schedule. What's great about online training is it is self-paced. They're someone next to me may not be at the same place that I'm at if I'm working on the same module, but I'm able to take it in and soak it in at the level that I need to take it in.
That's good. That's good. And it's also like, you remember school when you would learn like the quadratic formula? Can't even spell that, much less do it. And but I remember going like, when will I ever need this? You know?
Yes.
And what I
Yeah.
love is like about this OSHA credentials and then what Nucleos provides in different levels of different education. You can sift through and go, no, I'll actually need this and I can take this. And so you're educating yourself and using the stuff that actually does matter on your resume. I've never put I know the quadratic formula on my resume. One, because I don't know it. Two, no one cares. So that's
Well,
how
you know
that is.
what? Yeah, no, that's a great point too, because you think about safety, right? And it wasn't until I joined CareerSafe, and I was talking to our founder and our owner of our company, and his name is Larry T. And Larry made the comment to me one day. He said, "Safety is a skill," and
Hmm.
I never really thought of it that way. I mean, I just thought it was just, I knew not to put my finger in the light socket, right? But I was taught that it's a
Yeah,
skill. And so if we're teaching that safety skill, no matter what you do, if you're selling donuts, if you're working on a car, I mean, you're going to have some basic safety standards in life. And so it's a leg up no matter what.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Uh, Listeners, we're going to answer some live questions. So if you want to put some stuff in the chat, still feel free to. I saw Rita just said, Rita Williams, she's amazing in this space. She says if it gives people freedom to adapt and adjust, which is so great. And yeah, you can even adapt and adjust to the taking the training and taking the skills you want to learn and grow with. So it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And that's the importance of not only providing stuff, but providing stuff and being able to lock it down, keep it secure. If you're a warden and listen to this right now, it's like get the state off your back, and provide great resources, but also keep it locked down. Now, we asked people when they registered to ask some questions, and we did get some questions. And I want to ask some of these to you guys. And Chris, we'll start with you. What are some of the best ways allies can commemorate Second Chance Month and really just second chances in general?
So for me, I didn't share this at the beginning either. So I am a Marine Corps veteran. I spent 7 years overseas as well. And then on top of that, I am also just as impacted as well, just like Noah Asher here. And so with that though is coming home, right? So coming home out of the facilities, coming home and having to face reality. And then understanding, okay, you got your family, friends, you got all these individuals, and some will part ways with you and some will stand by your sides. And the ones that do stand by your sides, it's not turning to them and asking for that leg up, right? I'm not expecting for a second chance of, hey, can you give me a job? I need someone to help speak life back into me because I'm at my worst point in life right now. I feel terrible about myself. I have no hope. I have no drive. I need the second chance of someone actually just speaking life back into me and saying, you are worth it. You're worth this second chance. You're going to do something great in life and you're going to be able to push forward still and create something amazing. And with that, I would just say, having a really good support team back home, having others that are actually looking out and saying, no, he's not defined by his past. Just like every single one of us in this webinar right now, we've all made mistakes. Every single one of us has made a mistake, small, big. Some may be huge, right? Some may be life altering, but we've all made those mistakes. But imagine if you were held, that title was held over your head for the rest of your life, that you are this mistake. You are a thief. You are a drug addict. You are a burglar, you're a murderer. If you were held to that standard for the rest of your life, it wouldn't be fair. And so I
That's
think the
good.
best way to and support second chances is to just be that backbone, be that support, push individuals forward.
Love it. Ben?
I don't have lived experience, no, but my experience within corrections was described this way. What I saw in the culture and climate in corrections facilities that we had was the currency was about power, right? And it's about the idea of being power over power and over someone. What I would say to the question is to empower the individual, right?
Yeah.
In whatever way that makes sense, because you live in a climate of you're either being manipulated yourself or you're manipulating situations or others to gain power. How do you build internal empowerment to a successful, healthy post release?
That's good. As I'm assuming all of you have seen The Lion King. If you haven't, where have you been for the last 30, 40 years of your life? But in The Lion King, there's a scene, where Simba, he's called by Scar a murderer, a failure, and he runs. And he finds these two hippies who teach him a new philosophy on life, Hakuna Matata. And then he has this moment of clarity where his father shows up in the sky, probably from the bad bugs he ate. And it was like, Mufasa says, Simba, remember who you are. And that is when he woke up. He had that clarity moment and he went back and ran back to his purpose and to becoming the king. And I think a lot of times we're stuck remembering an identity, having this identity crisis of going, I'm a murderer, I'm a failure, I'm all of these things that um the state has put on me, the government has put on me, I'm just an inmate number. But what you guys are providing is saying, hey, we're not going to look at what you've done or what you've been called. Now we're going to look at, again, we're going to provide ways to make you now a student. That's the new identity. Make you OSHA certified or credentialed. I don't know the term for it, but you're getting people these educations, getting people new identity, and that's everything for people when it comes to Second Chance Month. Is saying I'm not looked at as my worst moment. I'm looking ahead at who I want to be and who I've become. So with Second Chance Initiative, someone asked, how can the Second Chance Initiative cultivate an environment for successful entrepreneurs as well as a learning environment with advanced technology? So I'll let you do that again, Chris. How can we utilize this advanced technology when it comes to learning? I think a lot of this conversation has been that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess rewinding time all the way to when I first, exited the facilities and made it back home was I had this doubt. I can't be anything that I wanted to be. I'm also a jarhead, a crayon eater, and my favorite one's the green one, if anyone's gonna ask. And so with that though is technology. It was a huge leap forward, right? And I went from seeing I remember looking at the Honda Civics that I remembered to coming home and going, Mom, that's a Honda Civic. What in the world? That thing's
Yeah.
crazy. Look at this tech leapfrog forward, and I see this thing called a smartphone. Didn't even know how to use a smartphone. What is a smartphone? What's an Android? Is it like it's a robot inside my cell phone? That's crazy. Okay. And so with that though, technology, and so Ben and I, we were just at this conference here yesterday, Correctional Education Association, just yesterday. And with that though, I was kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit in the room as I was participating in different sessions, as I was walking around to different vendors, and I go, what are you doing with your technology right now to future-proof your technology for these individuals on the inside to bring them the most up-to-date types of systems that you have to offer? And so with that though is AI is moving quick. AI is moving very, very fast. Technology is moving very, very quickly. And these individuals that are exiting facilities, I do see someone, I can't see who it was, but they were also talking about that they spent 20 years incarcerated. I can't see their name, it just says attendee. But I'm very certain that this individual that spent these 26 years, when they exited, technology had bounded and leaped forward. And with that, though, I truly believe having mentors, having other people in your social groups and showing you the different technologies, different resources available, that was a huge moment for me. It was when one of my friends came over and he just comes over and he goes, man, you're so smart. I want you to go into this thing called Coursera and take a course in this thing, learn how to become a software engineer. He's like, just start with this one course. I never even knew this place existed on the internet, had no clue about it. Took one certification course. That changed my entire trajectory. It goes from me working at a restaurant to doing landscaping in backyards to I'm going to become a software engineer. This is amazing. The bar to entry is it's negligible. It's hardly there because I can work from home. I can be a software engineer working for these big time companies and I'm allowed to work for them. The
Yeah.
background checks aren't going to bar me from entering as long as I can show them my portfolio and my skill set. I can do this. And next thing you know, I plug away, plug away, plug away, certification after certification, and it just started leaping and bounding forward into learning this technology, all because of someone in my support group showed me that here's this technology thing. You got to learn it. This is what's going to push you forward in life.
I love
Chris,
it.
do you think there's
Chris.
a challenge in corrections where this was my experience is we had really great staff who really loved teaching, but for so many years, technology in corrections was so pushed down. I heard a presenter at CEA talk about like a huge leap forward in technology for his incarcerated period was that you could actually dial a cell phone, not a landline. So he was in his time of incarceration, his sister had to keep a landline when everybody else was getting rid of them. And the idea that basically the staff have been so tamped down not to use technology that it's hard to see that. And how would how do you develop that efficacy? Because you had somebody push you there and help you there, and what are your thoughts about that?
Right. So I always use this reference is the World Wide Web is huge. We all have access to it, obviously, in this webinar. We're all on the internet right now. And I was always told, why don't you learn this? Why don't you know how to find this and do that? You have this tool and that tool, and why aren't you doing this? I'm like, well, that's true. We all have access to this and that, right? Us on the outside. And I go, well, then Bill Gates, he had access to this too. And look at him. He's a billionaire. Why aren't you a billionaire? Why aren't I a billionaire? Why aren't all of us billionaires? Right. And so the World Wide Web is huge. And so with that, with our platform, what we really are able to do is put an aggregated amount of applications, take different individuals and really sit them down and say, where's it that you want to go in life? What is your goal? Let's not even talk about what are the limitations really quick. Let's talk about what are your goals really quick. And then with that, we're able to bring in those different applications, those different things that are needed for that infrastructure and bring those things in. Say you want to be a software engineer. Great, let's bring in a full software engineering course. Let's start with the basics, obviously, start with the easier programming language. But let's build you all the way up to where you can actually use a web-based IDE where you can actually write code, test code, and actually run a program securely and safely, though, where you're not going to break the internet, where you're not going to make the custody teams feel very wary about this. And so I would say part of it is really getting in there with just a small subset of things first for the custody staff to see let them operate with this and push forward with it while it's very safe and secure. Introduce one more thing at a time as we go forward in baby steps, right? Everything's baby steps. And so it's taking those baby steps and offering one at a time until they go, wow, this is truly secure. This is truly phenomenal. And then I often hear custody teams coming up to me, officers coming over to me and saying, can I take that course too? How do I jump in on one of those? I want to take that too. And go, absolutely. Let's run this up the chain of command. Let's figure out how do we get the custody team now? How do we get them on board, taking courses, benefiting them, making them, building them up as well too, to be knowledgeable about what we're doing, not just making the incarcerated more knowledgeable, but actually making the actual custody teams even more knowledgeable and jumping ahead with these times.
Wow. Wow. Such innovation.
Well,
Chris, someone in the
can I
comments.
just real fast, Chris, because your story is amazing and I can see how many people it's affecting even through the comments. And so thank you so much for sharing what you shared. And I think what's really cool about what you shared is that you had somebody who invested their time in you.
Yes, absolutely.
You look at the group that we have here, we've had almost 50 people, including ourselves here, that have shifted our mindsets. I mean, that's a big piece of it, right? Is where we need to shift mindsets and realize you don't have to lower standards. I mean, somebody
Absolutely,
raised
yeah.
their standards and raised your standards. And I think that that's a key piece of this, is understanding that there's potential.
Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
I was sitting in the airport on the way home just yesterday, and me and another guy were on the same plane, and we were going at the same airport. Omaha Airport's really small, as most of the attendees at the conference knew. So we all ran into each other a lot, and so we were sitting there, and he just asked me, what got you to push yourself this hard in life? What got you to keep on bounding and leaping forward? And I mentioned, hey, you know, I do this thing called competitive archery. I love shooting my bow, and I do this. And he goes, well, let's talk about that. What got you into that? What got you to do this whole competitive stuff? I'm like, well, I got this thing called a wife, right? So I have a wife, and she goes, I don't want you to talk about this stuff to me unless you got first place. Don't talk about it. Just keep doing it. So she's my instigator. She pushes me forward, and she says, you know, I don't want to see it until you do this. I want you to do this. And she pushes me, nudges me. She knows how to. Ben, you can attest. All of our wives, they nudge us just right. They know how to just poke and prod, and they get us to move forward. And she's been my backbone. She's been my support. And I was introduced to this friend that actually introduced me to Coursera through her. And so her support team has become my support team. They've all pushed me forward. They've never degraded me. Never looked at what I've ever done in my past. And they go, "No, this guy's intelligent. And invest time into me." And so having a proper instigator, so to speak, without lack of words here, is it's great having someone to instigate you to be the best you and to push you even a little bit harder each day.
Love it. I want to move the time a little bit quicker just because we're cutting it close here. One person in the comments mentioned the one who did 26 years. I can't see their name, but they did say they'd love to reach out to you, Chris. So feel free to put in your email address so they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
That's what this is about. This is about making connections, but also, again, going to making allies. You're making an ally right here and there. That's awesome. So someone in the chat also says, how do you get administrators to try another tablet platform when they are set up on a different one? It's a good question.
Absolutely. I can rewind that here a second, though. So we're not just a tablet provider. That's one thing I do want to make clear. We are not a tablet provider. We're not an LMS. We are a digital experience platform. We are not just restricted to tablets. We have laptops, Chromebooks, terminal machines, virtual PCs, laptops, you name it. We could probably be on it. I'm reverse engineering our system to work on virtual headsets right now as I speak. I got the thing right here in my hands on the desk. So our platform is device agnostic. So we're not just a tablet. But with that, we actually have these things called Go Kits. It's a classroom in a box to say. And so with the classroom in a box, we're able to ship this out to any of these different DOCs, any of these even adult ed centers or educational places. And we can ship this classroom in a box and let the staff sit there, play with it, test it, see if they actually like it, vet it, and go, this is actually super secure. This is actually the next level. But on top of that, we do full demos as well. We walk the all the way to the highest stakeholder possible, and we walk them through our entire platform and show them all the different tools we have, from being able to monitor every single device's screen at any given point in time. We can see live time on our systems. Amy, Noah, Ben, you guys have all seen our systems. You've seen it. We can live time into any device. On top of that, we can also record every single thing we've seen on the systems from the moment you log on to the moment you log off, just like your Ring doorbell camera, motion detected at your driveway. We can do the same thing. We can see what's happening in real time and also record it as well too. And that tends to really please the custody officers, especially when they have little light switch buttons for every application. They can go, I don't want that one on right now, and just click it off at a push of a button.
I love it. So your email's in the chat. So whoever asked that question, feel free to reach out to Chris and see how they can send you a Go box and make it happen and do like the whole thing. Hey, it's free to get Chris to show you a demo too on like a screen recording or whatever it's called, a screen grab. So set that up with Chris
Absolutely.
for sure. And as we run to near the end, again, I've loved that this conversation has been around solutions, not problems, because we all know what the ultimate problem is. And so finding these solutions has been great. I've noticed a question that we had was, how do we create a better way to make an impact across the internet, as well as, again, best ways to form allyship around Second Chance Month. And I want to do something a little different with the time we have left. And it goes back to another question of, please share what reentry supports and tools have been found to be most useful and your suggestions for improvements. And so what I would like to do is something a little different. I see CareerSafe graphics behind you. We've talked about Nucleos, but I want to do something crazy. And actually, I want you to say some other organization that you've seen work within this space, someone that you would give a shout out and kind of hold up as, being successful in this space.
They have to be in the space, Noah?
Within the space of apprenticeship and second chances, that'd be great. Like in the world of reentry, Chris, I saw someone, I'll go first. I saw Jacapa in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Jacapa, shout out to them. Brief 10 seconds, Chris. What is Jacapa?
So Jacapa, I think probably someone from Jacapa is here right now, is a soft skills application. And it's obviously working in corrections or even being incarcerated and then exiting a facility, you could be taught all the trade skills and you could be taught all the different certifications in the world. But if you do not know how to effectively communicate with your peers, with your, say, anyone even above you even, and you don't have the soft skills to do so, probably not going to last in that industry very long. And so Jacapa offers the soft skills programs, and we have their systems on our systems as well too, where individuals could just jump in 10 minutes a day and actually progressively work on their soft skills.
Wow. Yeah, so soft skills, reentry. I'll go next while Ben and Amy think of one. Resilience Education, it's a great program. Rita is a part of. I saw her in the comments. Resilience Education does a lot of amazing things because they take people who just get out and they work with them and they ask questions like, what are you, again, passionate about? And how can we work toward that goal? So, for example, they say a lot of people in their space want to know more about like podcasting, for example. So, what does Resilience Education do? They work out a workshop around podcasting. So that's the kind of stuff they're doing. They're taking those passions. Again, it's no more, well, let's just teach you the quadratic formula and you can sit down and be quiet somewhere. No, we're saying, what do you want to learn? Let's make it happen. And so Resilience Education does that well. Amy, how about you?
Yeah, I would say, along with what you guys have been talking about, because I agree, I think soft skills are so incredibly important. But I also think that if you are searching for what's next and you don't know what's next, that's a problem also. And so I love Blue Recruit. They're a partner of ours as well. And they have a career exploration tool that goes along with their Blue Recruit. And I love it because it provides that opportunity, first of all, to determine what you like, and then what you might be able to do once you go into reentry. And they connect you with employers as well. And so I think that they're a great resource.
Awesome. Blue Recruit. Okay, cool. I've not learned about them. So that's great. Ben, how about you?
I'm going to post mine as a systematic approach to poverty and addressing poverty, because I think that the systems that are outlined in Transition to Success and the book, Diagnosis Poverty, create a playbook for lots of different ways to do this. And the closest I've ever seen in reentry is the five key success to reentry protocols. I just listened to somebody in Louisiana speak about that yesterday. And it's this idea of it has to be a collective and it has to be system approach, because there's no one answer. And there's a ton of really awesome community-based organizations that are all fighting for the same money, fighting for the same resources. And when a person gets out, they don't know where to go. So things like Transition Success, the 5 key takeaways, provide a platform in this case, and provide resources on how you connect different community-based organizations and different disparate groups to create a comprehensive and cohesive model to assist people. And
Wow.
so it's designed for poverty. The book is amazing. But it's an approach to organized and comprehensive reentry connectivity across different platform providers. I've seen reentry organizations in different states use some iteration of that, where they're connecting case use managers and other community-based orgs to try to address issues that follow, and lead to more recidivism. But the fundamental model is that it should be systemic, and the best systemic approach to collective, harm products like that is this Transition to Success org. It's not exclusive to reentry, but the whole approach is how I think my personal opinion in reentry should be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No,
Well,
I know also we are planning on sending out resources, right, from this
Yes.
webinar as well.
Mhm.
Yes, we're gonna send some some ideas, some links, some resources out there, as Amy mentioned. We have a few minutes left, and I want to just kind of wrap it up. We've talked about a lot of different things, and so I think the question is always, where do we go from here? And so, if you're in corrections listening to this, and you're going, I would like to learn more about Nucleos and see how we can get a platform like that. Uh, Chris, where can they go? Give that information for us real quick.
Absolutely. I would say first off, send me an email. Let's get together. Let's actually discuss what are the issues that you're facing right now. I don't ever like to just say, hey, what's the price? How does this work? I want it now. I really want to understand what are the different things that your facility does differently. Every single facility that I've worked with, even if it's in the same state under the same DOC, facility to facility is completely different. I want to know, what are the pain points? What is happening in these facilities? Is there lockdowns 23-1? Or is the education corridor super far away, but we're having issues because they need to go get meds or mealtime and they don't have time to do this education thing? Or is it, what are the burdens here? What's happening? And so I really like to know, what are the burdens? What are the pain points? Is funding a pain point? I know a lot of heads just probably nodded right now. Funding is always an issue, right? And so because of that, funding is an issue. We actually look for, what are the other ways around this? Can we look for the PEP? Can we look for Pell Grants? Can we, what nonprofit organizations are working with that one facility? Is there a university or community college close by? Can we have them write for one of these different grants? And can we help them write that grant? Can we help research for those different grants and help that facility overcome that funding issue? And then we talk, what are the other burdens here? What else do you need to see in order to continue this to move forward?
I love that. And to reiterate, I can't say, I don't think we actually mentioned on this, but I've said it before about Nucleos, is that you guys don't charge the incarcerated individual. You get
Right.
with the facility. And so again, you're never charging the incarcerated individual anyways, listeners. You're charging their families. And so this is a great way to look into that and get with Chris. Real quick, Amy, can you give us a quick shout out? Where can people learn more about CareerSafe and OSHA?
Yes, careersafeonline.com would be our website, but Ben and I also put our emails into this chat. And so reach out to either one of us and we'll be happy to talk to you about our courses. And very similar to what Chris said, we would love to know your needs and what really is the need for your facility and what we can do to help you and support you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for being a part of this panel. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. We are stronger together. So thank you so much. Second Chance Month is coming to an end, but that does not mean the fight for second chances is over. We still got to fight for that daily. And thank you to Nucleos and CareerSafe for doing that in this space each and every day. And thank you for your passions. Listeners, if you want to watch the recording of this, we're going to have that on our or on Nucleos's and CareerSafe's YouTube page. Part one that we did a roundtable recording. That is available on their YouTubes as well. So feel free to check that out. You can learn all of that from their websites, which is careersafeonline.com and nucleos.com. Until next time, everyone, until next time, because the fight's not over and we're together. We're better together and we're stronger together. So let's keep doing this. Let's keep connecting and keep moving the needle forward.